Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of the greatest Jedi to ever live. Despite facing the most challenging circumstances of any Jedi for 1,000 years, Kenobi was able to defend Luke Skywalker from the Empire and restore light to the galaxy through the Son of Anakin Skywalker. But over his lifetime, many weird, strange and interesting things happened to him, some of which changed the fate of the galaxy forever. So hit that subscribe button down below and let's break down 8 awesome facts about Obi-Wan Kenobi to know before the Obi-Wan show. Number 1. Obi-Wan was actually the first Jedi in over 1,000 years to lay his eyes on the Darksaber. During the time of the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi was sent to the planet Mandalore to investigate a rumor that the planet was building an army and preparing to join the separatists and Count Dooku. When Kenobi got there, he discovered a group of hardcore Mandalorians known as the Deathwatch. Now at this time, Mandalore was ruled by Duchess Satine Kryze, who was a pacifist, and her faction of Mandos exiled the warrior clans of Mandalore, including Deathwatch, to their Moon Concordia so that Mandalore would become a non-violent planet. When Kenobi arrived on the moon, he came across a man named Pre Vizsla holding the ancient black weapon known as the Darksaber. The first time a Jedi had seen it in over 1,000 years. The Darksaber is an ancient black-bladed weapon crafted by the first ever Mandalorian to be inducted into the Jedi Order, Pre Vizsla. This was a huge deal back in the day because Mandalorians and Jedi absolutely hated each other and had been at conflict for many years. After Pre Vizsla eventually died, the Jedi buried his weapon in the deepest and most secure part of their temple vaults so that nobody would ever gain access to it ever again. During the fall of the Old Republic, however, the Mandalorians who belonged to House Vizsla raided the Jedi Temple and managed to steal it back for their people. At this point, it became a symbol of leadership among the Mandalorian people, and the person who held it was considered to be the leader of all Mandalore. In order to hold the Darksaber, one must defeat the current holder in a traditional Mandalorian duel. So with this tradition, the Darksaber passed down for over 1,000 years from Mandalorian to Mandalorian until it eventually arrived in the hands of Pre Vizsla, the governor of Concordia and an actual descendant of the original creator. So when Kenobi eventually came across it during the Clone Wars, he was the first in 1,000 years.
This lightsaber was stolen from your Jedi temple by my ancestors during the fall of the Old Republic.
Number 2. Obi-Wan's mysterious homeworld. Obi-Wan Kenobi was born on the rocky planet of Stujon in the year 57 BBY to 2 very loving parents. He was taken away from the planet at a very young age by the Jedi Order, and by the time he reached 13 years old, he sadly had no memory left of his parents or his planet. Because of Kenobi's memory loss, combined with barely any Stujon natives leaving the planet, almost nothing is known about it in canon, leaving it shrouded in mystery. For all we know, this could be an incredible force nexus with tremendous power seeping from its rocky surface, but for now, we will never know. Number 3. Obi-Wan's orange lightsaber. Over his lifetime, Obi-Wan Kenobi had 3 handcrafted lightsabers, all with blue blades. The first 2 were modeled after his own master, Qui-Gon Jinn's saber, while the third was his own unique design. During a mission to the inner rim moon of Pajal, however, Obi-Wan and his master came across a very rare and unique type of lightsaber crystal known as colon crystals. Although these colon crystals were identical to Kyber on first look, they were totally different at the microscopic scale. They didn't sing in the Force like regular Kyber. Either way, these crystals produced an orange blade when placed into a saber, and the blade was non-lethal. During his mission to Pajal's moon, Obi-Wan put one of these crystals into his own saber and wielded an orange blade on the mission. Even though they were weak and unable to kill anything, they were great for cutting through energy shields, which made them perfect for Obi-Wan. Number 4. The reason Obi-Wan hates flying. You might remember from the prequels that Obi-Wan absolutely hated flying, especially Anakin's reckless style of flying. To him, it's a job for a droid. But that wasn't always the case. Obi-Wan actually used to love flying in his younger days, and he even had a deep love for ships. Well, on that same mission to Pajal, Obi-Wan was forced to rescue an enslaved friend named Rahara and climbed into a small ship inside of a carrier nearby to the situation. Instead of using his lightsaber to fight the enemies coming his way, he decided to use the ship's weapon system to fire back. Well, this caused the ship's autopilot to turn on and threw Obi-Wan into an intense panic, not being able to stop the ship. Kenobi was sat in the cockpit shaking tremendously, screaming and shouting as the ship flew him through the extremely narrow corridors of the carrier ship. The ship ducked and weaved through the tightest spaces possible, putting Kenobi only inches away from death. Once the ship eventually burst out onto the bridge and crashed to a stop, Obi-Wan's face went pale. He was dazed and looked at his master, taking huge gulping breaths. That was the last time he would ever enjoy flying a ship ever again. It's kind of funny how he considers flying a droid's job when the autopilot, a form of droid, literally gave him that horrible experience. Number 5. Obi-Wan Kenobi learned the Foresight ability deep into the Clone Wars. During the height of the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan was sent to hunt down a group of separatist agents far out in the Outer Rim. After confronting the separatists, they threw a flashbang at him and his reflexes weren't quick enough to deflect it away from him. As a result, the device detonated and completely blinded the Jedi Master, taking away his vision. Obi-Wan was then forced to escape the separatists without having any idea which direction he was moving, putting him through great emotional and physical pain. In his lowest moment, the point where he was on the verge of giving up though, Obi-Wan remembered the teachings of Qui-Gon Jinn and Master Yoda. He realized that a lack of sight is certainly no barrier to the Force. Because of this realization, he unlocked the Force sight ability and used it to escape the very tense situation. Obi-Wan did admit that it was worse than regular vision, but it was definitely better than nothing. Number 6. Satine wasn't Obi-Wan's only love. During his early days as a Padawan, Obi-Wan was given a mission of protecting Duchess Satine Kryze during the Mandalorian Civil War. As the conflict grew more tense, the traditionalist Mandalorian warriors sent bounty hunters after Satine to eliminate the symbol of pacifism. Because of this, Obi-Wan spent a lot of time with her and eventually fell in love with her and was even willing to leave the Order for her. Ultimately, it wasn't to be, and Satine was eventually killed right in front of Obi-Wan by Darth Maul. Despite all of this, Satine wasn't actually Kenobi's only love. Sometime before the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan fell in love with a young Jedi girl named Siritachi. He often shared a midday meal with her at the Jedi Temple. In Legends, there is a very long story involving the two, but in canon, we don't know much about Siritachi at all. What we do know is that in exile, Obi-Wan had fond memories of touching hands with her under the table in the Jedi Temple. He feared that the Council would punish him for even daring to do such a thing. And in the new canon book, Brotherhood, Siritachi actually makes her first ever appearance. Even though she was mentioned before in canon, that was her first time actually appearing. Number 7. Kenobi was almost not chosen by a Jedi Master at all. Despite Kenobi being remembered in galactic history as one of the greatest Jedi Knights of his time, it didn't actually start this way. Obi-Wan was surprisingly almost left behind as a Jedi initiate because no Jedi Knight or Master wanted to take him on as a Padawan. Despite having great potential, he was an erratic young kid and left many Masters weary of taking him on. Eventually, the young Obi-Wan got into a sparring match with the Jedi he didn't yet know, Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon himself was a bit of a rebel Jedi and he took notice of Obi-Wan's resilience and fight. He was impressed with the boy's skill, but still felt that it was too dangerous to take him on as an apprentice. It wasn't until much later where Qui-Gon got himself trapped on the mining world of Bandamere, where he finally saw the potential of a partnership with the young Obi-Wan. The two were forced to work together to survive and found that they actually worked quite well together as a team. From that moment onwards, Qui-Gon went to the Jedi Council and agreed to take Obi-Wan on as his apprentice. Number 8. Obi-Wan actually left the Jedi Order for a short amount of time as a kid. After getting caught up in a huge civil war on the planet Malida Dan, Obi-Wan decided that it was not right for him to remain with the Jedi Order. He wanted to stay and help end the conflict. Now, the two factions on the planet Malida and Dan couldn't agree on anything at all, not even the name of the planet, hence the name Malida Dan. Eventually, Obi-Wan realized that he didn't belong in the middle of a bloody ongoing war and made the decision to return to the Jedi Order. Qui-Gon Jinn was completely happy to let Obi-Wan back in, but the rest of the Order lost trust in him because of this little stunt. So there are 8 awesome facts about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hit that like button if you enjoyed and comment thank Mr. Obi-Wan if you made it this far. See you in the next one.